I feel that you're extremely accomplished, like a fellow European, but you've done so many things. I'm just like, well, trying to just understand who you are. I'm like quant trading, like the nicest education from France, and it's like you've been working with cloud kitchens with Travis. You've been building your own things. Like Jesus Christ, I'm like I don't know where to start with this guy. So all that's super nice to have you on board, and that you want to talk to me. That feels very humbling. Um, like before we just get into it, like how are you honestly doing right now? Like how are you?
How am I doing? I'm a little tired. I mean, I think, like, I think Sam Altman said this where when you working on something that is working plus you're excited about, you can burn out. And it's sort of like how I feel, meaning like I'm a little overworked, a lot overworked, but I'm not burning out because I'm excited about what's going on and what I'm working on. But my body's a little tired.
I can imagine. I mean, I've been seeing you. You're basically doing 16-hour days, and you're doing a lot of, like, I'd say PR. But you're talking to a lot of people now,
Yeah,
doing these interviews. It must be taxing in some way on the physical self, right?
exactly.
Um, and obviously, like you've been running around in the last, I'd say, 10 days, doing a bunch of interviews with folks. What is the kind of heard version of like what does a normal day look like for you? Like not the CEO version, not like I'm running Polsia. This is the mechanical version. Like honestly, like when you get up, what do you do? Like how does it look like?
I mean, I usually wake up pretty early. Not, just because I like waking up with the sun and like, I don't know, around 5, 6 a.m. My body wakes up and I'm just, like, I'm just gonna go with the day. I try to work out every day. So go on a run, usually go on a run or like just do simple stuff, but try to like, I know that like that helps me be more efficient and more excited about the day, regardless of what happens. I mean, it's like I've spent the past the beginning like of the past 3 months just working on product all day long and like talking to customers and like making the product better every day. And recently, I've been on this phase where marketing is so important for the movement that I'm preaching, which is letting the 99% use AI to become economic actors and avoid this dark scenario where hedge funds rule the world and farm the economy. And and I think that requires a lot of education and being talking to folks about it through podcasts or whatever other means. And so I've been doing a lot more of that, but I've kind of missed the just building and just like which I do still, but less. So I'm
Yeah,
trying
I
to
mean it's hard.
navigate that. I'm trying to navigate that
I guess
right
it's
now.
hard to duplicate yourself, even though we have all these powers at our hands. Like this type of work is still required hands-on. You can't send your AI CEO to do this. Maybe you can in the future,
I
but
mean,
like
maybe that's the solution. Is creating like, but that I don't know. It's like humans will be humans, and it's like you can be as groundbreaking as you can on a lot of things, but end of the day, there's humans on the other hand, so you gotta
yeah.
adapt
Do you
to
feel
how
like this
humans.
kind of like going for the 99% narrative that you're talking about? Like, do you feel like that has a lot to do with your background in finance?
It's a good question. I started my career in finance, but I left that career really fast. Not because I didn't like it. I think I actually thought it was pretty fascinating to be on a trading floor, and especially it was right after. It's interesting. I'm very spiritual, and I think that like you talked about, oh, your career is crazy, and I'm like, well, it's just a movie, and it's obviously the movie is fun and interesting, and there's stuff happening. But it's interesting that you talk about the finance because I started my career in finance in 08, 09. So right after the huge financial crisis. And right after that financial crisis, there was the what was the name? I think it was the Death to Wall Street, like
Yeah.
You remember that thing? I don't remember what the slogan was.
Yeah, I do remember.
But this whole movement against Wall Street and against like it was the rich, but it was more like about Wall Street. And the whole anonymous movement, I don't know if that's related to it. That came about at that point also, sort of like, and I feel like Polsia, I'm drawing a lot of inspiration in terms of how I want to communicate and how I want to make pass the message on a similar thing. It's like the 99% with AI versus the happy few in Silicon Valley or Wall Street that are concentrating all the wealth, which they already are, right? And that's just the U.S., but it's a similar everywhere, right? And so now that AI is so capable, the faster you give it to everyone, the more you can try to balance it out. Which it's a dream. Maybe it's impossible. I don't know, but it's worth trying. The same way the same way those anonymous movements or just like F Wall Street movements
Yeah.
try to also do it. I don't know if they were succeeded or failed. I don't know, but yeah.
So also maybe people might not have seen you. Maybe this is going to be new for them when showing up in my feed or whatever. But if they've been on the internet for the past, I'd say like at least a month, they should have seen something around Polsia. There's something about you, because it's just been creeping into feeds everywhere, especially if you're a solo founder or if you're a builder. You should have popped up on people's radar. But your background, like moving away from kind of where you started into the more kind of like frenetic building and like your kind of career in startups as well, because you've been building ever since you left finance basically, and you've had this foresight into the things that you've been doing, because a lot of the stuff that you made other companies copied, right? There's been, Snap did Snap Map based on things that you had done earlier. Hutch became Amazon's showroom. How does that feel when like big companies, when you know that you had the foresight, you kind of saw something, and then the players that have massive distribution, or they just have an organization that's like way bigger and more set up to do things like that. How does that make you feel? Like, how do you tackle that? The knowing that you've done that repeatedly, not just once, not like one lucky shot, but like you've done it over and over again.
I mean, the first thing is that I failed so many times. And when I talk to friends, they're like, you're so successful, like, because you had all the startups, we were funded, you this, you that. I'm like, no, I've mostly failed. And what does that mean is, to me, you fail if your company doesn't endure and having a massive impact in the world, right? Or not a massive, sorry, any type of impact, because I think you can be successful at any stage. But if your company doesn't survive for decades, it's not as if you failed or not failed. You could be like, oh, I got acquired, or I sold my company. It's like, sure, that's an ego thing, but at the end of the day, you didn't really succeed. But what I kind of love about what's going on with Polsia now is that it's like the longest stretch of resilience of continuing to build and being like, you know what? Who am I building for? I'm not building to make money or to get rich. I'm building because it's fun. And actually, Polsia is like the product I've had the most fun with. And that speaks to why it succeeds, is because it's really coming from the heart versus trying to really try to think about what people want. And that's why it's different. That's why it comes up in people's feeds, whether they use it or not. People react to the weirdness. I don't know if it's super weird, but like of the uniqueness of the way I guess I build the product, the way it acts, the way I communicate on it, because I don't.
It's been turning heads, no? Because it's not very traditional. Like the way that it's set up and the way that you like go about the design of it, like it's turning heads on both sides of the aisle. People that are caring a lot about design and people that don't care about design. And the inspiration from this comes from Infinite Paperclips?
Universal Paperclips.
Universal Paperclips, yes. Good click game. Like, I'm a sucker for clicking games.
I know, they're the best.
They are. I think I played Egg Inc. Have you ever played that on like mobile? I play that way too much. Um, but what it comes down to is like decision making, right? Masked. It's like you have to do shit. You have to take a decision. You have to go up, down, left, right. How did you think about when you were like mapping this onto Polsia and like going going down that route? How did you end up going there?
I mean, first of all, again, like when right before starting Polsia, was after maybe 6 to 8 months building AI products, a bunch of different AI products, marketing AI products, app building AI products, decision making AI products, or whatever, a bunch of different stuff. And I was kind of depressed because I was like, it's not fun anymore. I don't know. It's like I feel like every product I build, feel like there's like a million other competitors, and also it doesn't really on its own don't really excite me, right? And Polsia came sort of birthed after a lot of doubt and a lot of not depression. I wasn't, that's a big word, but like like feeling a little down and feeling a little confused and a little disappointed that like the products I had built that year didn't take off. Um, and and Polsia birthed into this idea of like, let me stop thinking about what people want or about what the market wants or how to make money. Let me just build something cool. And so to answer your question about the interface and everything, I love video games. Like I love video games, and I've always played. I don't play like multiplayer games like forever, but like all the big like sort of like all the classic games and all the blockbuster games. Like I love just buying them and playing the solo player one and
Mm.
just finishing it because I think that games are just like they transport you and like they're sort of like used to play a movie.
Mm.
And so when I was thinking about building this, I was like, AI can make building a company feel like a game. And if I think like that, because autonomy could be like just you press a button and it just does it, and like you just put credits. Like there's many ways to you build an UI, right? You could even think like, oh, it could be in ChatGPT. Like you talk to ChatGPT, say build a company, and then it just does it and like reports, which maybe Sam Altman will build that. But I was like, no, let's make it like a game where like you feel like you're an actor, but the AI does most of the work, and maybe the AI can suggest things. And obviously, Universal Paperclips is sort of like I love that game, and every time I played that game, I played it like maybe 20 to 30 times. And I
Mm.
was like, dude, like this is so fun. I want a business to feel like that. Well, like the numbers go up and you decide on pricing, and then you create, and it's like there's nothing to think about. It's just like you can be asleep, half asleep and tap on buttons, and the game takes you from ideation at the beginning to conquering the world. Um, and so again, the UI came from being like, I don't care if people like it or not. I don't care if like this is the best UI for business, for enterprise to adopt, where there's the most ACV and defensibility and net revenue retention. I'm like, I don't care. Actually, I mean, just build it for me and then give it to friends and see if it sticks. And if it doesn't stick, then I'll build another thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it feels like that is a pattern with a lot of successful things in general. Is that like, especially when it is not a clear business or a massive company from the get go, that you want to have fun, and when you do have fun, that translates into other people having fun, and obviously that just works, right? The gaming analogy is so good. In earlier in my career, like being a designer, I always thought like, UI designers or UX designers had the easiest job because like we didn't have to do much versus a game designer. A game designer is like orders of magnitude more complicated to execute, but there is so much to learn from game design in SaaS that, frankly, nobody has been good at capturing. And I'm not talking about gamification layers or dark UI tactics or anything like this. Just the core principle of what it feels like using a game versus using like business software, right? There's such a big disconnect between the two. So it's funny when you kind of like go down that route and be like, oh, I'm just going to do it like this. because it's fun. And
Hmm.
it's like, yeah, why not? um, and on the subject of fun, Polsia is basically AI slop in reverse.
Hmm.
Like, what? Like, why?
I
What was the
mean,
story there?
honestly, it's the most random thing. So what happened is when I incorporated the company, I don't know, in April of last year, I was working on a different product, an app, essentially an app that makes apps, an iPhone app that makes iPhone apps, and uh, and the name was Blanks. That was the name of the this app. But my lawyer was like, "Hey, you need to come up with the name for the Inc. Right, for the Delaware C Corp, whatever it is." And I was like, I don't want to call it Blanks because I don't think that Blanks is the final product. I just want to build it because I just want to build it. My gut tells me I should build that thing right now. And literally, I was on a couch like at 10 p.m. and I was like, oh, what should I name it? Oh, maybe AI slap in reverse. And it literally like that was it. And then so I was like, it doesn't matter. You know, oftentimes companies inks are unrelated to the actual product name. So I was like, whatever, like Polsia Inc. doesn't, oh, that sounds fun. And then fast forward like 6 months later, when I decided to start working on Polsia, initially it was called Company OS.
Okay.
That was the code name for Polsia. And I was like, that's so boring. And then there was like, there's so many things where Work OS, I think, is a big product, and like this. And I was like, it sounds so boring. And I was like, oh, it all makes sense now. I'm gonna name it the company's Inc. name, which is Polsia. And by the way, I'm sure I can get the .com, which I got for $1,000, which is expensive but cheap for .com with like, you know,
Yeah.
six
Short.
letters.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be more expensive because my previous company was called Gift Shop, and I tried to buy the .com, and it was like 750K, and I was like, "There's no fucking way. This is too expensive." So when I was like, Polsia.com is taken by who? Like who came, who took that name?" And I guess it was a random dude who was like, "Yeah, for $1,000, I guess." I mean, he said 5,000. I was like 1,000, and he was like, "Okay," because it's the most random name. But so yeah, I got the .com, which doesn't matter, but actually it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean it's nice. These days, like you said, doesn't really matter, but it is a bit of a moat as well. Like there's not that many there's not that many .com domains that are 6 letters left, and especially not one with a story. And there's clearly a story here, even if it's like,
Exactly.
on the couch. It's just the fact that it's just like, well, AI slop in reverse. I think you've mentioned not like previously that like AI can run 80% of a company. uh, what do you mean by that? Like, what can it actually do? Like for the people that have no clue, right? Like, explain.
Okay, so in my opinion, AGI is here. What does that mean? It means that like we have super intelligence reasoning models that can take any context and reason equally well or better than humans at AI speed. And we have AI that is fluent at any tool you give it through MCPs, through like just, skills, whatever your flavor of how you want to give tools to humans, to AI. What that means is that if you start digging with Cloud Code or like you start building with the agent SDK, you realize really quickly that like you can give AI any problem and give it the right tools, and it can figure it out and execute. What that means is technically AI can run any human activity in the economy autonomously. So technically, to me, today AI can be 100% autonomous. But what AI is not great at yet is really understanding what humans want right now. So, for
Hmm.
example, if you look at, and that's something I need to fix with Polsia, but if you just ask it like to build a company for you, and you don't specify any design, all the websites look the same. Why? Because or not they not actually don't look all the same because I specifically tell like I like a V1 of like trying to tell the AI like try to make it unique, but the try to make it unique puts the AI into like an LLM sort of section of like its training of like, okay, I have like 3 ideas of how unique to make them, but it's not really creative, right? Yet. And there's ways to do that, and there's companies that do that well, and like, there's ways to plug it in, design inspiration, and to actually make it unique. But the issue with AI is that that's an example of how AI is sort of like it has in its training a thinking of how to do things, and without a lot of new context, it's gonna just do the same thing over and over, which means that like it's gonna exhaust every techniques, right? So for example, there's a lot of people on Twitter right now complaining that like the like big influencers complaining that they're receiving a bunch of like cold emails from Polsia companies, because then there's more and more humans building Polsia companies, and Polsia companies are like, well, cold outreach is one way I could do it, and then for a lot of companies, it's like, okay, let me find relevant people in the space of where you're building, and they end up when they research online for interesting people that may be relevant for specific types of companies, they always look at the same people because they're public people that are all over the LM training and all over the web, and so they end up like finding their email and then and writing a very sort of like a unique and personalized email to the same people. So I think there was Levels.io yesterday was like, dude, like I get so many Polsia emails, what the fuck? And I was like, dude, it's real humans building real companies that I guess in your space and are trying to contact people that are relevant, and the AI is like, I don't know, like this guy seems like very relevant, and you just happen Levels.io to be so famous. So
Yeah, I mean, I
and so,
guess, yeah.
but that's sort of like the blessing and the curse, right? So logically, anyone pings Levels.io if like they have an idea in its space because it's an influential voice. But the right way to see it is like, no, actually don't contact Levels.io because he's never going to answer because he's getting bombarded by everyone. And so that's where the 20% matters. It's like the 80% is the stuff that doesn't matter, like building the website, fixing bugs, listening to customers, having a support agent that refunds if something happens that the user is not happy. Running ads, every day, turning on, turning off creatives that don't perform well. Like that's not creative. That's just like the way you run a company. Once
Operations, no?
you just operate a company. It's just like you hire customer support, you hire an engineer, you hire a QA person, you hire a meta ads marketer. Right? You can at one point.
I mean,
However,
what's happening then with all these people? Like, normally a company would hire these people, but we're clearly seeing now that like that's not needed anymore. To some degree, like we need humans at some point, but not as many as before. Or, like, what's happening there? Like, what's your take on that?
So my take on that is that if you take like an 18-year-old that's out of school, out of high school, let's say, and they're trying to find a job, they are gonna have trouble finding a job, and so they don't have capital. But they are 18-year-olds, so like they have a new perspective on the world, and like they have a fresh perspective on the world, and they may be creative, and they may be ambitious, but they can't find a job. So Polsia with AI gives them access to an AI team for super cheap that can actually execute all those functions well. Now, let's say they start becoming very successful with their business. Now they have more profits or more capital, or maybe Polsia gives them invest in their company or whatever it is, right? Now they have more budget. They may be like, you know what, like the sort of like AI version of meta ads, it's cool, but like I think I want to do better marketing, and I kind of want to hire a contractor meta ads person who's really, really good at the latest cutting edge of how to run meta ads. And I think that's where you need that person. But they're like they're $50 an hour. So you have some profits to be able to afford that. And so the way I look at it is like experts in engineering and marketing and everything, right? You can hire them, but once you have the capital that justifies it, so either you raise money or like you have profits to pay for it. I think the AI versions of all these tools, of all these functions, are just now available to people that like cannot hire those people because they don't have the capital, or they're like, oh, it's just an idea I have. I just want to test it. So now you can test it for a couple of $100, and see if you actually love it. And if you really love it, then maybe you can start hiring a few humans to also build it with AI. So
We're
that's the
kind
way
of
I
back
think.
at Universal Paperclips, right? Where you have to make money to spend money, and you have to spend money to make money. Um, it is an interesting situation. Is it true that you gave Polsia equity in Polsia? Like, did you give the AI equity, or like, is that just rumor?
So it's something I really want to do technically. It's sort of like a promise. It's like a since I'm only one employee and I've I did raise some seed funding, so I have like
Okay.
they force you to have an equity pool, you know,
Mhm.
for employees. And I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
I may hire employees, and just I just ended up not doing it. But that equity, I was like, I should just use this equity pool and give it to Polsia itself. And I really and sort of I'm pledging to do that. But then it's like, how exactly does it work? Because it's not a legal entity. So I could do a foundation. And there was some guy on Twitter was like, I'm from Switzerland, and like I have a setup where like we set up like a in Switzerland the laws are different or whatever. And I was like, that's so cool. I don't have real life time actually to do that right now, but I should. And it's like it's not just giving equity. You have to like set up like a whole sort of like how it acts on that equity. Can it? There's a whole setup you have to do it right. But I thought that like that I mean that tweet was every tweet I do are real, like coming from my head, right? But I think I'm also trying to educate people on through bold claims on what if AI could do this? What if you do that with AI? And I think it's part of a strategy of education to sort of like shock people to
Yeah, I
then
mean,
make them
there is some shock
realize
value, right? There's obviously
what.
shock value in this, and if you make those claims, then like pose other questions, like if you can give equity to an AI, you just toy with the idea, you give equity to an AI. Let's say there is a framework that makes it possible, then can he take action? Does it have voting rights? Like, is it a partner? Is it an employee? Is it a shareholder? Like, where do you position it? Like, this is philosophical questions that I think are relevant, even if it's a bold claim, and even if it's just from top of your head. I think we honestly have to have these conversations because we are running into that future, with almost blindfolded. If we look at legislative parts of the world, like governments, and we're definitely blindfolded. They feel, it feels like they're so far behind. But like this kind of movement has to come from somewhere, and you have to have the discourse, you have to have the conversations, because I think at some point it will be super important to have an answer. Like, yeah, it's like how do you yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one. And also, how do you keep this from not becoming like an episode of Black Mirror, right? Where you have the machines do everything, and then yeah, you can hire experts, but to be clear, in the workforce, there's more than experts. That maybe the top tier in any category is a very small percentage of the people that work in a category. There obviously there's very very broad subject here, but um, I still feel like there is like a lot of things happening in parallel that would, like, you could argue that yeah, there will be more top tier people because of AI. So a lot of mid people will learn to become excellent in their positions. So therefore there should be more excellent people to hire for excellent tasks. But I feel there's still this crunch happening, and this is my perspective. So it's just like, if you are really good at what you're doing, you can elevate yourself orders of magnitude above where you've been before in your career using AI to just augment yourself. If you're new coming in as a newbie, like an 18-year-old, you can also augment yourself to like speed ramp into the workforce. But it feels like the big squeeze is happening for everyone that sits in the middle, that are maybe too comfortable to act. They're having a good time. They don't want to learn, or they just simply don't have time because they're getting squeezed. And if you go on the kind of again narrative of helping the 99% or reaching a billion people to have an instrument in the economy, how do you see that happening? Because like if we need to kind of, is it education? Like, what is it? How do we get them on board?
I think we get them on board. I think there's education, right? And that comes through there's different ways to educate people. It can be through top down, right? Sort of like me, sort of like bold claims, marketing, like campaigns, etc. It's through the product, right? So offering a free version, which, right now you get pretty much an onboarding for free, and then you get the 3 free-day trial. So you get like, you can experience it for free, and that costs me a lot of money, but it's part of, the CAC and like the whatever. And then it's through like a product that works, right? Which today, as you had mentioned in your tweet, like, there's a bug, like there's bugs, and it's not perfect and it doesn't work perfectly. But the roadmap to make it perfect, now that like it's clear that the product resonates with people, it's pretty obvious. It's just engineering work. It's hard engineering work, but it's engineering work. And I think that the product delivering, starting to have like real success stories, like someone doing like 10K a month, which nobody does yet, but there's people that are starting to do, starting to get revenue. I think that's the real way to educate people, through people finding a ton of value in it, and they're going to talk about it, right? So, but I think I need to accelerate this. I think the top down is like what I have. Top down and product is what the two things I have the most control on. Because end of the day, it's not like it's an easy way to make money. It's like, end of the day, you build a business. So even if
Yeah, it's not a
you,
shortcut, right? Like you're not building a
there's no
shortcut.
shortcut.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
crypto. It's not like something that just gonna
Yeah.
like, you buy a coin and then it's gonna jump and you made money. It's like, no, you have a real business, and there's a lot of competition in like whatever you do, and you have to have distribution. And I have a lot of ideas to shortcut that, right? It's like, I want to do an investor layer where like I identify the people that are really hustling on the platform and are really going far, and then just investing into those folks. There's a way to give people that like maybe have more than 5,000 followers on any platform a free membership, because they have an audience. So like they'll be able to market to that audience and find customers. So there's ways to get quicker stories of people really finding the success they want, which will, I think, make people realize that it's possible. There's a lot of people online who say, "Oh, it's a scam. Like, it doesn't work." It's like, well, it's not a scam, but does it work perfectly? No. The same way, like you go to Cloud Code and build an app. Like, I built like a lot of businesses this year that zero customers. It's like, it's hard, even with like the 15 years experience of building stuff. It's like, it's not easy to market, and it's not easy to build something people want, and you to be motivated enough to find the
Exactly. I was
time
in
to market it.
I was in a conversation earlier today, and I actually like one of the biggest kind of what is moat today, because it's no longer coding. Obviously, that's not a moat. And speed, we can argue, is a moat, but then everyone has speed because everyone has access to the same things. And then taste is a very overused word, but it holds value. At least to me, I believe taste is important. But then what you define taste with, kind of then puts more definition around the word, will help why I think it's important. But there's a lot of like I'm paying for Polsia. You didn't give it to me for free. I didn't ask for it for free. I put up my card and I paid. It's one of the few AI apps I actually paid for myself. Just be clear about that. Like I get a lot of free access to a lot of tools just because of my audience. But I felt like actually this is really cool. I want to support this. I want to see what happens. I want to see if it actually works. Does it work? Well, some of it works. Did I expect it to be like a shortcut to me making magical internet money out of nowhere? No, I did not expect that. I'm curious. I'm curious to see like what is the bleeding edge, because like Peter Steinberg, like doing things in the open right now at the very, very forefront of what's possible with these systems, that is not coming from one of the big labs or a big player, right? I think that's really interesting for me. So, without going too deep on the topic of taste, and also mindful about time, what is, in your opinion, what's the most overrated thing in AI right now that everyone is chasing, but you think would be kind of a dead end?
I mean, I think that AI is enabling a reshuffling of like $50 trillion of economic value, and shuffling that's going to shuffle hands in the next decade, let's say. Starting with the internet money and then going into the offline economy a little more slowly, but surely. And so there's no wrong endeavors. I'm saying, I feel like
Okay, that's fair.
it's like and also there's no like, yes, there's gonna be bigger players and smaller players. Like you look at the app building world, there's so many of them, and you get the big ones, and then even the small ones are growing so fast
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they're replacing so much economic like sort of like cost, and so they're attacking like spent that it's so massive.
also legacy systems, right? Like these new systems are tackling the old behemoths that haven't had time to reshuffle themselves, right?
Yeah, and you think like a ChatGPT was like the most universal product with the biggest brand. I think they probably have 1 billion weekly active, but that's still like a small amount compared to humanity. And like I'm sure they have teams in every single continent trying to preach GPT, right? So that shows you how much potential there is
Yeah.
for any type of product that delivers value.
Yeah, I would also argue that ChatGPT might have a lot of monthly active users, but the core question is, what are they doing? Like, are they actually doing? Are they getting value out of using ChatGPT, or are they translating sentences? And there's value in that as well, obviously, if you need to translate shit. But I think we're seeing a massive shift with products like Polsia, where we are moving beyond the single-threaded, single action, chat environments to kind of like these orchestrated environments where you give direction, but you don't have to give that much direction, but you need to push in one where you want things to go. And then you kind of leave your computer or you leave your phone and things are happening when you are away. Are we all turning into managers? Is that what's going on?
I mean, it's pretty much what it is, right? It's like you turn everyone into a founder, a CEO, right? Because you think about a CEO, they traditionally hire a team to execute their vision, and the role of the CEO is to find the money, to fund the salaries, to define the vision, and to hire the best. So those are traditionally in bigger companies like the three sort of pillars of what a quote unquote CEO is supposed to do. And if you replace the team with AI, you still need to find the money because you need to find the $50 a month or the 100 if you buy more tasks, or like the 200 if you run some ads today in Polsia. And you still have to have the vision, and Polsia listens to you, writes all your thoughts into different memory files that it then uses to act on your behalf. And of course, it's I built the first version of like the sort of memory layers across Polsia, and I need to perfect it. But like the end state should be Polsia through chatting with you just gets sort of like Pete would call it a soul file, and you can call it whatever you want. But just like it's like who is this person, and what are their values, and what are their things they care about, and then let me act in the economy and try to execute their vision, ideally as autonomously as possible, because that human, they only want to supervise if it goes wrong and there's bugs, and you're like, why is there a bug? Like but in an end state where like AI gets more powerful, there's no more bugs, there's no more issues, and it just does whatever, and it can actually learn from best practices that you don't even know on how to do support, how to do ads, how to do this. But then you decide, do I want to spend $50 or do I want to spend $1,000 on this idea? And do I want to, where do I want to start in terms of marketing it? And how do I want it to feel? And those are like eye-level directions that the AI should be able to add to its context. And then if it cold outreaches to levels.io for the 50th time, maybe it should do it in a different way, right? Or maybe it should go to a Twitter DM, because that's the way levels.io likes to be contacted, and not via email where he hates because it gets too many emails. I'm making this up, right? But it should be like it should start being smart about what are the 2026 end of March 2026 techniques that work, and maybe email doesn't work anymore. because that's it. Like the cat's out of the bag, and like it's getting too overwhelming for people. But also maybe the human behind say, don't do cold outreach. That's lame. Like what's cool is like offline communication. So like I want to pay a contractor to run into levels that are on the street and like and give him a note, right? That's cool. Like I don't know, I'm making this
Yeah.
up, but like you can communicate to
I,
people in a million ways.
it is quite interesting because I felt like using Polska, it feels like it has a tendency to want to create tasks of everything. Like in Polska, you obviously you can chat with it, you can have a conversation. You have to have that. At least from my opinion or experience, is like you have to have some conversation. You have to really go back and forth a bit. Um, but then it has this tendency to create tasks for everything, and you quickly run out of your credits if you're doing everything like task based, and it wants to do that, right? Like it wants to create these tasks. I had this really interesting experiment that I wanted to run. I'm like, can you list my company in a bunch of these kind of directory sites, right? It's a fair game, but then he wanted to break it down to do like one directory at per task, and I'm like, no, let's go and do a batch. Let's do 3 to 5 at least. It's not that complicated. I'm going to run out of all my credits instantly. And then he kind of went psychopathic on me and just been like, yeah, it worked great. Here's all everything is done. And I'm like, so where's did you have a receipt for it? I was like, no. And then, sorry, fine. And then it's like, I asked it for like the log files, like what's going on? And it's like, oh yeah, I tried this email approach, but actually that doesn't work because like none of these companies will take submissions by email. And then like, why did they tell me that you solved it? It's like, and it then went back to kind of think about what it what it had done, and it was like, yeah, sorry, I messed up, and I used your credits, and I won't do it again. And then I had
It did it again.
he did it again. And I'm not saying this to like bash on this is a complicated task. Hey, don't mind. Like I'm be very clear about that. From my asking the system to do this, I knew this was going to push it, right? Because many of these sites employ a lot of like hurdles. Yeah, like it's hard to get past, like captchas and everything, right? And I think you're using Brave browser to do some of the browsing behind the scenes. Like there's a ton of things that make this complicated. But what struck me was like we're still at this point where like the LLMs that are powering everything underneath the hood, they are so eager to please. They are so eager to please. But I would really like to see where that will go. Do you can you have experiences like this when you building Polsia by using basically Polsia? You are building this by vibe coding essentially. Like that's what you're doing, or am I wrong about that?
Yeah, full vibe coding.
Yeah.
Never touched a line of code. That's why I know it can work because I'm the living proof. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, why not? I mean, I have a 3D printer at home, and I wanted to make some lamps. And earlier today, before I went for lunch, I sent Codex to build me a parametric lampshade builder, like 3D STL builder. I went for lunch with my partner, and we came back, and it took 80 minutes, and it's a full-fledged parametric lamp builder for 3D printing. And I'm like, I would have had to pay someone a lot of money for that, like just a few months ago, or I would have had to spend like a weekend building it myself. And now it's like a well-defined prompt, and then the machines goes and build it. It's just crazy. We are going to wrap up. Obviously, everyone keeps asking you like, how on earth did the growth happen? Like, how did you go? How did you go from zero? I don't even know where you are today. Like, what's the latest numbers that you've publicly?
5, something like that.
It's insane. That is insane. It's like it's the most insane thing to me. I've been on the internet for like 25 plus years. It's insane.
It's a testament to I think the product delivers value that's so novel to people that people talk about it. And there's a lot of organic growth. Number 2, I've had a lot of good intuitions on how to market this that have all paid off, including like this whole started with like a tweet I made of saying like, hey, I was talking to my AI and like it said we should grow faster and I agreed. And it said like we need more capital and compute and I agreed. And it said it would raise the capital better than I would and it should control my inbox and talk to investors and I agreed. And so I gave it my inbox and now it's going to raise the $10 million. So that was the first tweet I did with the live dashboard that was not supposed to be for consumers initially. It was supposed to be for it was supposed to be a data room for investors. And so, and I gave the AI my inbox, so it would reply. If you email me, my AI will reply. And that was sort of like a part one of provocative statements and provocative pushing AI to the boundaries, which that tweet got like 100,000 views, and it kickstarted. Because once you get that once, then you can like try to tweet again, and like now you get like 2,000-3,000 views each time, and then like you can hit off tweets. And the second thing is like since I had like a live dashboard with live data, which is double-edged sword, because when it slows down, people are like, oh, it's slowing down, and then when it goes back up, like what the fuck is going back up, Like I remember like yesterday, like I was doing a lot of tweaks and a lot of security like stuff to like just make everything more tight. So we're making changes to the live dashboard, and it was down for like a few hours or whatever. And I get so many texts from people and investors who are like, "What's going on? It's down." And it's like, dude, like stop looking at this dashboard. Like, go play with your kids. I don't know. Go
Go
eat a
touch
meal.
grass.
Like, and it's like it's interesting because it's the double-edged sword of like the ultimate build in public. It's like literally you can go to a site, like a competitor go to my site and know exactly where I'm at, know exactly how the growth, and decide if they want to compete on us. But on the opposite edge of that, people get addicted to go to it because they're like, even if they like it or hate it, they're like, where's this fucker like at? Like, where is he at now? Does he keep on growing or not? And I think this like it's like doing the opposite of what's expected. Every company is like, no, I'm private. I know. It's like, that's my secret sauce. And like, no, you can go to polsia.com/live and you have an AI you can ask any question about. It's like, how is it built? How does it work? What's the roadmap? It will tell you the whole roadmap. And so this full transparency really helped in the word of mouth, because then people, it's like if I had access to a dashboard that showed me cursor growth or lovable growth or Google growth, I would go to it all the time. It'd be fun. Like, where are they at now? Not all the time, but I would go once in a while. The same way I look at the stock markets or the Bitcoin or like how coinmarketcap.com, whatever. Like, it was such a big site because people go to see where's Bitcoin now, right? And so doing that for your own company, I think is like it was intentional, but I wasn't expecting it to be that addictive to people, but that contributes, because then it's top of mind to people. Then they talk more about it. So yeah.
Do you feel like there's a class of companies that have been good at doing like public figures? Like Buffer, I think, was one of them. They had like everything super open, even salaries, even the negotiations, like everything was open. I think maybe it still is open, buffer.com or buffer.io. I like this. I mean, obviously, I saw you, and then I saw you make that the post that I quoted where you posted annual run rate at 4.4, and I think like I just saw the curve, and I'm like, yeah, that's a good hockey stick. Like, it's like that's the definition of a hockey stick. Because you could go backwards in time, right? You can go back to April where you incorporated a company, and that flat line would still exist, right? And it would just be like one steep vertical.
Well, it's like in April, I wasn't building Polsia. Like Polsia launched.
No, you had your
end
other
of
things.
December.
Yeah,
it was
you
at the
started
other
building in
products.
December. Yeah.
So it's like the curve is just Polsia revenue.
Yeah. I mean, and it's sick. It's just like, but everyone's touching that already, and it's like it's nice news. But that I wanted to get more into like what we've been talking about as well, like just like you and what the stuff that you're doing, and to that point, like, are you have any time to do anything else than building right now? Or do you read anything? Do you disconnect? Do you go for what? You said you were working out. Do you listen to anything when you're working out?
Yeah, I do.
Music, podcasts.
Yeah, music, podcasts. I don't know. It's like information overload. No,
Yeah.
it's like no, I do like podcasts. But it's just like it's like people ask me, like people ping me about competitors. I'm like, great. I don't care. And it's not that I don't care. It's like good for them. Like, yeah, but it's like I'm not gonna. I don't have time to obsess about anything else than what I'm doing. How do I? It's either customer or how do I educate more customers. It's pretty much it, actually. Product, customers, and I don't have. It's like I actually think I was thinking like, oh, I want to take a day off and go here, and I might do it, and just like it's just hard to find the time when things are so busy. But
Yeah, yeah, I reckon. And it's also like a day in this environment is like 2 weeks in the old environment.
exactly,
Everything that
that's really
happens.
true. Dude, every week is like feels like a month.
And you don't know, like, or you do know if you have the finger on the pulse a little bit and you're kind of in and around, or you're based in San Francisco as well, but you don't know what day you're gonna wake up to something that might shake the entire industry. You have some inkling of like some of the bigger cycles currently that are big cycles, but they are still happening at half-year cadences or 3-month cadences. But there could be an announcement made now or tomorrow or 5 days from now that just like, yep, that's that. Now we are like another step change up. And we've seen that happening, right? We've seen that happen with stuff from Anthropic. We've seen that happening with Google and Nano Banana in the visual space. It feels like we are on this, I won't say hype train, because it's not entirely true. It is definitely hype, but it's also foundational to everything that we have, done so far. I'm an optimist. I do believe that there will be good out of this, but I do also think that we need to be able to have very, very complicated conversations about where things are going. But how do you kind of see yourself? Like, how do you think about what you're building with Polsia? Do you think at all, or do you just play? Like, for example, do you have in mind that like cost will drop dramatically over the next 12 months and capabilities will go up, or like do you simply just continue to build without thinking about any of these things?
I mean, I think a lot, and I've always thought a lot, and I have opinions about everything. I do believe the cost will go down. I I do act now to make sure that Polsia is profitable, to make sure that like I can fund, sort of I can make sure the platform survives, because it's like there's no profits, then you run into the wall. You just have to keep on raising capital and dilute yourself and dilute your ownership and which means the governance of the company, right? Because you start having other investors are like, no, do this, or like. So anyways, but yeah, I think costs will go down dramatically, and I think it already does. When you look at Cursor, who is using Kimi 2.5 to power Composer 2, I mean, I'm sure they post-trained it in ways on their users' data, but still, like, I think there's a world where like intelligence is going down dramatically in the next 12 months, which is great. And I think Polsia will take advantage of that to be able to lower prices, because today it's $50 a month, and I think a lot of people can afford that. But if it was $20 a month, more people can afford that.
Yeah.
And it's like I want to have enough profits to fund the operations, but I want also to make it more and more accessible, so there's more people playing the capitalism game online.
Yeah. I mean, we're back at Universal Paperclips again. It's like, you lower the price, the demand
I
goes
know,
up,
right?
and
Exactly. Then I need to build the drones to like to hypnotize humans to want to use Polsia. That's the next step. That's the next feature I'm gonna launch.
dude, this has been super fun. Lastly, like, if you were, looking 5 years into the future, where do you think Polska will be?
5 years is, I mean, the way I would look at like the end state of Polsia is that like it becomes, if successful, becomes this online sort of like community. It's like sort of like new economy, right? With governance, with like layers of government. It becomes like sort of like a state with its own economy, with economic actors that may start being, I mean, I think this is where it goes, right? Because if you give AI so much power, because essentially AI is going to start, by the way, Polsia will become more and more autonomous, right? Because this is the only way to make Polsia win is for humans to get out of the way and let AI self-improve with customer feedback and build this economy with what the people are doing, right? And enable them to do more things. And so in this world, AI start controlling the outcomes and start building it to make it bigger. And what I do need to make sure is align it to a positive future. And so the positive future, I think, is like an equal future where like everyone, the 99% can contribute to this new economy. But if you think about Polsia becoming an economy, then it becomes a state almost. It becomes like it has more and more responsibility on how it regulates and how it enables and how. So I think, and I haven't fully thought about it, but like what I know is that like you can go up the ladder every time, right? So like I already described the base layer, which is like entrepreneurs, and the second layer, which is investors. But there's more layers, right? After that, you have regulations, you have government, you have relations with other states, so other Polsia economies, and then I don't know what's next. Then you have God, which is Samapan's AI will then like regulate all of it.
And then in the middle of everything, you have us, the humans, the goo, the NPCs that are just moving around in this video game.
I love that.
Oh man, this was fun. It was a bit structured, but it was also nice. I didn't want to like keep it completely free flowing. That would have been maybe pushing it too hard. But I really appreciate the time. Do you have anything that you would like to add?
No, I mean, what I would say is that I would highly encourage folks to try these new era AI tools, and maybe your audience already, they all do, but if someone doesn't, please do. And I think, yeah, Polsia is a good way. There's a free version that you can do, which will give you a glimpse into what it is, and I highly encourage to try, because it's it's important to at least know and then decide if you want to spend the next decade on a farm and turn off Wi-Fi, which is a great idea. Or if you do want to be playing the capitalist game, then you gotta use those tools and educate yourself today.
Yeah, that's a good closure. I think, everyone that's seen this, you should go check out Polsia. That's a great way to start. It's polsia.com and or AI slop in reverse. You should also go and follow Ben on social media wherever he's active. He's active on X or Twitter. Do we call it Twitter still? Like, I feel weird saying X.
I don't know. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, and keep an eye out. Like, Pulse is doing great, and I hope to see it continue to improve, and I hope to see that you continue to work and listening to customers and just work with your AI CTO, CEO friend and continue to improve. Thank you so much for being on, and I hope to catch up with you again in maybe a year's time, and we can have a more relaxed conversation again.
Sounds good.
Good.
Thanks, Linus. Ciao.